But this is also concern here, what's happening south Charlotte. That's why the flash flood warning. This is a flash flood warning out from Mecklenburg County. Look at that extremely heavy rain going on here.
Yeah, you can see, I'll turn off the radar for a second
Yeah.
here. You can see there's that flash flood warning actually almost directly around the tornado warning.
Oh, yeah,
right
you see
now.
the red, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that where we have the tornado warning as well as the flash flood warning, again, until 1:45 this morning. Then, again, switching it back over, looking at our debris tracker, still not seeing something. Again, I know it looks like there's a hole there, but really that's just a breakage and where we're not seeing the thunderstorm or the severe warned storm, but still know what we'd like indicate. A donut hole that would be indicative of a potential tornado on the ground.
Just so you know, Andrew can explain it too really well. The debris tracker is tracking debris, right? It's actually tracking the debris that would possibly be a result of a spin in the clouds.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So basically, let me just switch back over to this real quick. So when we see this, when we see the debris tracker, see all these different colors. You got blood red all the way down to almost a light blue shade. Blood red means everything is uniform within the storm. It's called, the scientific term is a correlation coefficient here, but we use this track debris because when everything is the same color, or when you see that blood red color, everything that the radar is picking up is uniform within the thunderstorm. Potentially, when we see sometimes almost like a donut hole, that means not everything is uniform, and sometimes debris can be getting lofted into the atmosphere. So again, watching, switching back over to our velocity real quick, because again, this is the most helpful tool in terms of really that, along with our debris track here. Watching again, that area, still nothing terribly strong right now in terms of the rotation, broad in nature, but again, we do have that tornado warning in effect until 8:30. If you live in this polygon, you want to get to the lowest central portion of your home, putting as many walls between you and the exterior of your home as we continue to keep a very close eye on this storm.
Yeah, we're coming up just past 8 o'clock right now, so we've been on the air. Been on the air since 4 o'clock for the news, but the tornado warning, the first one came out about 5:30, and we've extended this one for Rowan and Iredell County, and you can certainly hear a lot more rain coming down outside right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the cameras that we have available to us.
Look at Arlington camera, because that's the cell that's hitting us now. We're looking northeastward. The back of us is looking toward the station, would be toward our backs.
And that's looking northeast up I-85 toward where all the
That's the stuff in Mecklenburg County that's moving northeastward. That's the beginning of it. So over the next 30 minutes, next 15 minutes, this area, uptown Charlotte's going to get extremely heavy rain from that dark cloud. That's the beginning of it, going back west and southwestward toward Lake Wylie. That's lifting northeastward, and we're going to see some extremely heavy rain. We're going to hear it now here. It's going to hit here first before it hits uptown Charlotte.
South Park raining there
South
as well.
Park. We're going to watch the visibility drop dramatically here with that flash flood warning. We have a flash flood warning for Mecklenburg County for good reason, because of all the concrete and roadways. There you go. There it is. That's the northeast-looking view as you go northeast on 74. It curves and goes northwest, but that view there is showing it northeastward. That's the beginning of the extremely heavy rain that's now coming through Mecklenburg County, and thus the National Weather Service has placed us under a flash flood warning.
And look how low that cloud is.
Yeah.
Just to be able to point out there, I mean, let's take a look at this here. This is our Independence camera. We said this was a slow-moving storm, but as we're just watching it right now, within minutes, you're seeing those clouds move so
scud clouds.
fast.
They're called scud clouds.
Past when you look at uptown as it moves, heading toward the direction
northeast.
Yeah, northeast. But I mean, just right now, as we're looking at this live on TV, take us through, what does this mean?
Yeah, it just shows you that's if you're looking toward the northeast, that's if you had eyes in the back of our heads, we would be seeing the heavy rain moving in. We're looking toward the northeast where it's moving toward. So we're going to watch, we'll go back at this in a minute or two, you'll start seeing the visibility drop dramatically right here, because that's the leading edge of the very heavy rain that's showing up here. Radar, if you go to radar, we can show you the heavy rain that's going on.
Sorry, I just want to, again, zoom back in on the tornado-warned storm right here, and around, almost stationary, watching it on a radar, Jim, here, just barely putting this in motion here over the last 15 minutes, barely moving so, but around Huntersville, Concord Road, you want to be getting to the lowest central portion of your home, putting as many walls between you and the outside. Bradford Lane, again, some of these different communities here, because we're still, again, we do have this tornado-warned storm in effect until 8:30. Macaulay Road, again, it's this little rotation here where we see a little bit of a couplet where we get the winds moving toward and away from the radar site, and this is sometimes is what is indicative of rotation within the thunderstorm. and one of those clues, Jim, that us meteorologists that we look for a potential tornado. But the good news is, for those people of those communities, not confirmed, still radar indicated right now, switching directly over to our debris tracker again. Still not seeing something that really jumps out to me right now, that donut hole that would really be indicative of debris getting picked up by a tornado, thrown up in the air. Just not seeing that as
The
of
donut
yet.
hole would represent like the center of the spin.
Exactly.
That's why it's pointing out, and the debris tracker would point that out.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have that right now, which is good news. What we do, of course, have is just these torrential
Look at that.
rainfall rates. Some of these places very close, actually, to where we have that are under a tornado warning. That they have to be in the lowest central portion of their house, but also be concerned about a lot of street flooding going on. You can see some of these rainfall rates, and it's going to rain like this for probably maybe 20 or 25 minutes
5,
before
10
it
miles an
clears
hour.
out. So you can pick up very quickly an inch of rain. And many times when we talk about just a regular rainstorm moving through, it'll take several hours to pick up that much rain. With these torrential downpours, really can pick it up in a matter of less than a half hour.
Right.
So that's not good news for us when we talk about these flash flood warnings, correct? Because when that water accumulates, what kinds of things can we see from that that's coming after the storm? Of course, our big concern right now is the tornado warning
Street
that's
flooding.
out here, but you have
Street and
flooding,
parking lot
and
flooding.
also as the debris on the street, can cause even more
Right.
flooding,
So,
especially in like the uptown
That's a
area.
good point. And we have the tornado warning going on here, and winds can cause trees and power lines to come down, right? But also heavy rain, because our trees here in the Charlotte area and much of North Carolina and South Carolina are kind of shallow rooted. In particular, pine trees are very shallow. So you get a lot of heavy rain, not a lot of wind, but a lot of heavy rain that can also cause those trees to topple over just because the soil becomes so loose around them, and they get saturated with the rain that the leaf canopy and the pine needles, they start to bring the tree down. And even though we don't have extremely heavy winds with anything of consequence yet, if we get a tornado, we will change that view. But so far, it's just been the heavy rain, I feel, that's been causing a lot of the trees to come down.
Yeah, and I think that's going to become one of the primary stories here. I wouldn't be shocked to get more flash flood warnings. Again, continuing to watch the rotation here. Again, the good news, what I was talking about was some of these storms moving in out of the south, what we were just showing on our Independence cam. A lot of these winds, again, on a little bit more of a wide scale view, pushing out of the south directly into that tornado warned storm, and potentially, good news here, it might be disrupting the circulation a little bit in the low levels of the atmosphere. I have to watch that, but the last couple of frames, Jim, I've definitely seen the circulation.
For 21 more minutes, the warning's out.
What broad rotation we did have is definitely starting to weaken here, which is good news. But what's not weakening is just the torrential rainfall across portions of Cabarrus, Rowan, Iredell County, Mecklenburg County, down in Indian Land is just coming down like cats and dogs right now. Still not seeing a ton in the way of hail. This is our hail tracker. We can sometimes see, radar indicated hail sizes. Fortunately, not seeing that right now. Not a ton of, at least overall, major instability in the atmosphere that is indicative of the potential for some quarter-size hail or larger. Not seeing that right now. But just some torrential rainfall, just some of these rainfall rates here, truly getting impressive, getting down into Indian Land
5
here.
inches.
Zooming in closer, just another rainfall rate here, 2.5 inches an hour, just really coming down right now.
That's
Jim.
down near Ardrey-Kell in South Charlotte, and again, lots of people live down that way.
And
of course,
just
up
to
by Huntersville,
confirm,
too.
though, even though we're seeing all that heavy rain in that area of Indian Land, down in that area there, they are not under this warning.
Right.
They're not under a
this
flash
is
flood warning, not under a tornado warning.
But of course, we're seeing that heavy rain that's coming through the
Mecklenburg
air. I just
County.
wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those areas you just need to watch out for the heavy rainfall. Again, continuing to watch here, the rotation actually weaken within the storm. It would not totally shock me if they do cancel this tornado warning for portions of Cabarrus, Rowan, Mecklenburg. Just again, it's already tough to see, but me just watching a little bit closely here when we go off cam, I just really see it continuing to weaken here over the past 5 to 10 minutes.
I think you said it well, Andrew, when you said the real story might end up being the flooding. If we look back on this event, the tornadoes were, an issue too. We want to keep you warned on that. But this flooding with this extremely heavy rain and the amount of moisture that's available in the atmosphere to be wrung out, the slow-moving nature of all this, the urbanized area of Mecklenburg and the surrounding counties, you had the recipe for what could be some major street flooding, parking lot flooding, small streams. That's what a flash flood warning is all about, and that's why Mecklenburg County, you've been getting a lot of the rain, and mainly in the northern, eastern, and southern part of the county. I think the airport's probably had less than those parts of Mecklenburg County, but the whole county's under it, flash flood warning.
Yeah, and it's just, really concerned about the street flooding as we go through the next couple of hours here. And again, watching these storms kind of really build here in terms of intensity, in terms of the rainfall rates, not necessarily tornadic or rotation, which is certainly good news. But again, putting the radar in motion here over the past hour or so, it's just a lot of heavy rain that's going to be pushing through portions of Mecklenburg County over the next hour or so, really eastern Mecklenburg County. When you go, if you take a line from Huntersville down through uptown Charlotte, through Indian Land, points off to the east, these are some of the areas here that are going to be picking up. They could pick up really just a quick, 1.5 inches of rain as we go through the next hour or two, Jim.
Yeah, this is like a spoke of energy, isn't it? Around the parent low to the northeast, you can see it's like a feeder band around a hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things
producing.
that we were concerned about, is just how, I'll switch briefly over here to our national radar mosaic, and you can see this is exactly what Jim was talking about here. As we'll bring it back, and you can see this big, broad rotation right now across portions of Kentucky and Tennessee. This is an upper level low, and it's not going to be moving over the next couple of days. And on the eastern side of it, this is where we can see a lot of moisture getting pulled out of the atmosphere, and that's where we see a lot of heavy rainfall. And that's one of the concerns here, is that we're going to see a lot of heavy rain over the next couple of days. Severe weather was possible. But really concerned again today, tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a lot of heavy rain, because you can see this broad rotation. That actually gave us a little bit of that wind shear, that wind direction changing as you head up through the atmosphere. That was sort of the spark for some of these tornado warnings that we've been watching, because when you see the rain, see the thunderstorms moving in different directions around this low, that can create that spin and rotation within the atmosphere. But this is not going to be moving over the next few days. Let's take it back full. I'll zoom back in and kind of break down what we continue to watch here with this tornado-warned storm across portions of Rowan, Cabarrus, as well as Iredell in Mecklenburg County. Right now, again, still in effect until
8:30.
Until 8:30 here. Now, again, the rotation at this point, Jim, as I continue to watch, it's almost non-existent at this point, which is certainly good news. Again, switching back over to the terminal radar here, watching very closely, but again, I'm just not seeing, fortunately, that type of rotation that is indicative of a tornado on the ground. So that is good news for some of the people in these communities. Still need to watch it. We still have a tornado warning in effect for portions of, again, Iredell, Mecklenburg, Rowan and Cabarrus County until 8:30. But again, I've just watched the last couple of scans here from the airport radar, and the rotation is almost completely gone at this point. So that's good news. I'll be watching it closely. Would not surprise me if they drop it or they just let it expire here in the next 15 minutes, Jim.
Yeah. And again, we talk about probably the big story is going to end up being this extremely heavy rain. I mean, you talk about all the urbanized areas around Charlotte that it's hard for the rain when it comes down 2 or 3 inches an hour. It's hard for it to wash away quickly. It takes it a while, and it backs up and causes streets and creeks to flood. And if you have a basement, that's the kind of thing that can happen in a basement. You get water that goes up in there. And it's been extreme eastern Mecklenburg County, northern Mecklenburg County, and now along 485 in southern Mecklenburg County, from, let's say, Lake Wiley up toward Matthews. That area is also stalling. They've also been getting a lot of very heavy rain, and that's why
one of the areas you got to
out.
worry about, too, is that Rocky River area near the Speedway that's always kind of prone to flooding during these type of heavy rains.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. And again, I like showing the rainfall rate here, because it's just really indicative of one of the other hazards that we're really concerned about this evening across the Central Carolinas. It's just that we watch the purples, these rainfall rates. Again, you're not going to see this type of rainfall rate over the course of an hour, but it doesn't take very long when you pick up, let's say, an inch of rain in 25 minutes or so. All of that water that's fallen in, let's say, a 10 square mile locale around you, that all has to run off somewhere. And why we're concerned, we already have a flash flood warning in effect for portions of Mecklenburg County, Iredell County, actually Rowan and Cabarrus County as well. But it's just going to be
for good reason.
We'll see how long we keep going here with the tornado warnings, but it's going to quickly switch over to the threat of flash flooding during the evening and overnight hours.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like the lightning we're not seeing so many on radar, so many.
That's a good sign.
And that's
lightning. I guess, what do you call those images that would be coming out on the radar to be able to see the lightning? Because originally, that was probably 4 times what we were looking at, what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely right, Alicia. And a lot of times when we see with the maturing thunderstorm, that when the life cycle of these strong storms is, you'll see the initial air rising, you see those big towering cumulus clouds developing, and then that's how you get those initial lightning strikes. But eventually, all of that rain coming down, that's what we call downdrafts, that really zaps all that rising air and convective instability within this thunderstorm. And that comes down and then stabilizes. And that might be what's happening right now with the potential of not seeing nearly as many lightning strikes as what we had about 20 or so minutes ago.
Yeah, that's, again, those areas, the warning for the tornado looks like it's going to expire and uneventful, we hope, in the next 13 minutes. But if you're in this area, take abundance of caution, go to the center part of your house, away from the windows, go to a bathroom, just take protection, let this thing expire and be safe with this area. We're concerned about the tornado warning, of course, but we're also concerned about the flash flood warning from Mecklenburg County, Rowan County, Cabarrus County, all these areas that have already been getting the extremely heavy rain. More is moving into your area. And as Andrew said, it's moving so slow, it kind of exacerbates the situation because it's moving slow and it's raining at 1 to 2 inches an hour. It just pools up and doesn't have anywhere to go. And so it floods the sides of roadways, parking lots, areas that when you're driving, this is the area to be concerned about. From Mooresville down to Harrisburg, Huntersville, and southwestward of there toward Lake Wylie, that's where the heaviest rain has been forming. And you can see it's still showing up there as extremely heavy rain. And even though the lightning strikes have been lessening, that's good news, the heavy rain is not going to be lessening. It's going to continue, and with the kind of atmospheric dynamics we have going on, the National Weather Service has placed this flash flood warning out till, 1, 2 in the morning. So that's for good reason. It takes a while for this urban street flooding to come to fruition, but it's happening, and we advise you to stay off the roads here.
All right, let's take you out live to some of the live pictures that we have now. We have about 15 more minutes of this warning before it happens to be expired. This is our Arlington camera
Looking
here.
northeast.
Brian, I mean, this is almost
pretty ominous area.
Right,
yeah.
Twice of what we saw just in the last 10 or 15 minutes of just those dark clouds coming through.
Yeah, you can certainly see it's a lot darker than what it was, and that rotation of the clouds, you can see it just kind of coming back down more southern into the uptown area with that heavy storms that we've seen from some of our cameras. And just so we got about just a few more minutes here of the tornado warning, but certainly what we do have to worry about is all this rain coming down. We do have a flash flood advisory that is out for parts of
Look at that visibility.
Yeah, look at the visibility there. It's a little bit better than what it was actually, but you can't see uptown right now.
Right. And another thing just to be able to point out here in terms of what we're seeing as, again, about 15 more minutes until this warning is set to expire. Jim, you mentioned the flooding that's going to be on the roads, and that's going to be the big concern. As nightfall happens and, people are out on the streets, what are some of the concerns people need to be aware of?
Well, with any kind of flooding, whether it's flash flood or whether it's just an area-wide flood, sometimes those area-wide floods, they take a while for the rain to run off and to cause issues. And that's why flash flood warnings and flood warnings can go out well in advance. But with this kind of scenario, you have a lot of rain in a very short period of time that'll cause street flooding along the sides of the roads and parking lots, as we've been mentioning. And if you're out driving in this causes hydroplaning. You have issues. It's
You just
spooky.
saw that on 77 right there in Cornelius. On a lot of the rooster tails coming up from the cars as they were driving down the highway.
And people sometimes are unaware that how dangerous it is until they start to hydroplane. And then it gets kind of scary.
Right. And also in terms of, we just saw a picture there of when we look at the areas that have boats and the water that's coming in on those lake levels, of what that means, that when you have flooding, that can cause all kinds of problems.
Well, all the drainage goes off to the lakes, right? That's why, in part why they build those lakes first and put dams behind it, because that's where the lower spots are, where the rain will naturally drain off to, and the dam can hold it back. But after a certain amount of time, they have to start releasing water from the dam, and that's when downstream, a day or two after this event, if the rain continues like this, you'll still have flood issues because they have to let the water out from behind the dam. These are the rainfall rates you're seeing there from Harrisburg northward towards Huntersville. The light white colors and bright colors, those are indicative of the very heavy rain, 2.83 inches an hour, nearly 3 inches an hour. And moving so slow, and it comes down so torrentially and so fast, it can come up and surprise you. The road's going to all of a sudden be flooded, and you just need to slow down before you start seeing it pond on the roadways. That's the safest thing to do. The best thing is not go out. But in the future, if you're out and it's raining like this, these kind of rainfall amounts, you want to slow down right away, because if you don't, you could be caught by the rain on the side of the road that starts to flood in the middle part of the road, and then you're toast. And so slow down before you start seeing this, and don't even go out if you can. But these whites, look at that, nearly 2 2/3 inches of rain. within an hour. And these are moving so slow that we think this will be the major story
Yeah.
of the next 24 hours versus the tornado, which was annoying in and of itself, but cautionary. We want you to take cover. But that's going to expire here pretty quick. Or has
Yep,
it?
we got about another 9 minutes left of this tornado.
9 minutes left.
Yeah,
that
and
one.
a flash flood warning till 1:45 in the morning, and that is for Mooresville, Cornelius, and Davidson.
Yeah, and down toward Mecklenburg, right, too? Is that in there? Yeah, that's my part of the flood warning. So, yeah, this is the stuff that's moving northeastward very slowly, producing a lot of rain in a very short period of time. And because the runoff takes a while to actually accumulate and cause problems, you're going to have flash flood issues in the short term and then plain old flood issues that'll come as a result of that. A flood warning would be something that takes a little longer to, play out. The runoff comes in and causes lakes and streams to rise up. A flash flood warning is one that's immediate. The rain is coming down so heavy, you're going to have ponding on the sides of roads and small streams that overflow their banks quickly. Your basement can get flooded. Lower parts of your home. That's the kind of stuff that happens in a flash flood warning. That's what we're under here. And for good reason. These rainfall amounts are coming up 2-3 inches an hour. And the tornado warning is going to expire here pretty quickly. Nothing new appears to be happening. Andrew's been pointing that out. No new couplets coming up. We don't see any
Yeah, it's so
debris
broad.
trackers.
I mean, it's the interesting thing is that actually the area of rotation is actually like stalled. It hasn't moved actually in about the past 20 or so minutes. Actually, I'll switch over here to
As
our,
it's pulling up from the south.
our velocity. Yeah,
that's a
basically
disruption thing happening. Right?
Yeah. So again, we still see that broad area of rotation right here. Now, again, over the past just 15. I'll do even 30 minutes here. There hasn't been a lot of movement with this particular cell. Again, putting it in motion, you can see it's just really that area rotational circular right here just hasn't been moving, Jim. Again, another very rare thing as someone that have done many severe weather outbreaks and tornado warnings. I've hardly seen a cell like this basically holding pat for the past 30.
Because when it's
or
moving,
so
it
minutes.
helps produce the rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
It's basically sort of meandering and just using sort of that broad sort of directional wind shear and spin in the atmosphere from that upper level low to our north and west.
That
So they're
gives us
expiring.
confidence. Yeah.
So they are expiring the
Yeah, there you
tornado
go.
warning for Cabarrus, Iredell, Mecklenburg,
that's
and
gone.
Rowan County. So
Okay,
they,
that's new news that just came in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so-
has now been
it
expired.
they're
verifies-
going to let it expire at 8:30. So
Okay.
we'll stay on the air until 8:30, and then we'll see again if they do drop a new one. But right now, again, just not seeing something that jumps out to my eye that says, "Hey, we gotta
Keep our eye out
be
for
concerned
it.
about tornado." Again, right where that area of rotation is, you see everything that really dark red color.
All
Alicia,
think
that
that
means everything that
one-
the radar beam is picking up. It's all rain. It's all just pouring rain right now. It's not picking up dirt or debris that might be scooped up by a potential tornado on the ground. So that is good news. We're just not seeing that very indicative of a tornado on the ground right
Let's
now.
give
We
folks
just have
tonight.
some new images into our
Yeah.
studio right now. We want to show our viewers. This is from Mooresville, what
Whoa.
we're seeing. This image here. And Jim, as you see this, you just said, whoa, is this a shelf cloud that we're seeing that's over there, or those are actual?
Who taught you that term? That's good.
That would be Tara Lane.
That's a shelf cloud. And we also call those debris clouds you see dragging down scud. They call those scud clouds. Those are the clouds that would, if there was a spin, would start to rotate, and you would say, oh, there's something going on up there. You have these scud clouds or these shelf clouds that are just being kind of in one direction going, but when they start to spin, so that's a little tip next time we get under thunderstorm or tornado warnings, look for that scud cloud to begin to take a rotation. That would indicate some spin going up in the clouds. This isn't moving, so we don't know, but I would say that that's just the shelf cloud showing the
So
downdraft winds.
if you were living in that house that we're seeing in this picture right here in Mooresville, I'm always trying to humanize it.
Yeah.
And I think if this was my family, if I was living in that house or I owned that house, should you be very concerned right now?
I'd
Or
be
is-
very concerned because that would be in a tornado warning that's expiring here in 5 minutes. Absolutely. If that was the picture going on during the tornado warning, I would be very concerned.
So this is where you need to get down in
Yeah.
the lowest level of your house.
Yeah.
If this is where you're living here in the Mooresville area and what you're seeing, because there's just no way to predict if a tornado was to happen.
And that's why the National Weather Service
with
goes
you
out
guys.
after these events to verify it. We technically can't say, oh, there was a tornado, unless there was some dramatic picture of it.
Right.
We usually wait till the National Weather Service goes out and they verify it through debris and through rotation that you can see on the ground and different things that happen. But if I saw this and I was off work, let's say, and I saw this, I'd be like, wow, that could be developing into something I'm going to keep my eye on.
Yep.
And that would be rotation.
And I'm going to say, Jim, let's wrap up the coverage here because they officially have
Yay.
terminated the tornado warning. So, again, we're going to be watching these storms the rest of the evening. Jim Lytle will be back here at 10 talking about it. And again, if we get any more tornado warnings between now and then, of
Quickly,
course.
the back edge.
Yeah.
That looks promising, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So again, just watch it closely. Again, I think they're just letting it expire. So we'll wrap up our coverage here, Jim, and then we'll be back tonight at 10.
Yeah.
All right, you've been watching our extended weather coverage here from Queen City News, our meteorologists, and yeah, so hopefully we won't be back on here real quick. We'll see you tonight at 10, but for the meantime, we want to go ahead and wrap it up here and make sure you also tune into QCnews.com for the very latest.
Right, and if another warning does happen, we will be right here with you on the desk, and our meteorologists will be right here inside the Weather Center to be able to monitor everything. But we appreciate you joining us for our coverage, and we're going to return to regular programming.